What's up, y'all? It's your boy, Bry, aka Gio, and today we're gonna be doing something a little unique than what we normally do. We're gonna be doing a letter to hopeless romantics with the essence of speaking of the movie 500 Days of Summer, or rather kind of like a review, but that's kind of the lens that we're looking at. If you're new to the channel, we're gonna be doing reviews and kind of a little personal insights into certain movies, games, and just things that I enjoy here. So this script took me a few weeks to write, and full context, I kind of came off of a rough breakup when I wrote this script, and it was a little raw for me. So if you guys hang there with me while I read this to you, I hope you guys enjoy the video. This is not going to be your average review of 500 Days of Summer. This is going to be a peek at my perception of this movie through the eyes of a recovering hopeless romantic. Writing this was a little raw for myself because truly looking at myself in the eyes of a toxic reality that us hopeless romantics have to deal with. The movie first starts with the credits, and we get our first insight into who our two leads will be, seeing how their childhood was, and we found ourselves with our first little peek inside the mind of Mark Webb. When he shows the children's versions of Tom, that's when you see the director's name revealed. We are not told much about Summer throughout the movie, a side effect of the manic pixie dream girl. However, we are shown a glimpse of her core character, an early jaded view on love, and all it entails as she can see in the pain that was caused from the divorce from her parents. On the other hand, we are beginning to view the romanticization of love through Tom's perspective. This justification of between our two leads just kind of tells you where the movie's gonna go and how we're gonna embark with it. Like every great cinematic masterpiece, our movie follows the trope of starting at the end and then coming back and retelling the story. It's kind of chapters set all over the place, so it doesn't follow a linear format, which is a unique style choice by the director. And here we are introduced to the best character of the movie, Tom's sister, and her voice of reason of our tale. He starts the reminiscence about the relationship and his memories. Poetry, a fairy tale-like relationship, a highlight of the great moments. This is the view of how his perspective works. He mentions he never saw the breakup coming up at all, and this mystifies to us, the audience, since we see slowly the derailing train wreck the relationship was near the end. But he's so consumed by the delusions that he disconnects from the reality. Now, this is going to be a common thing that we're going to see in the story. You're going to constantly see Tom disconnecting from the reality of what the relationship is. So it's interesting that we get to see this from the very beginning. We are then shown his first introduction to Summer. Nothing more than ordinary moment is viewed through awe and importance in the eyes of Tom. He's basically describing a moment of love at first sight, yet these emotions are coming from a purely superficial level since he doesn't know anything at all about her. This moment is very different than the Tom when we meet at the end with his first interaction with Autumn, but we will get back to that. We will talk a little bit more about Autumn as we move on. Tom is later told some rumors about Summer, and instead of seeking the truth, he simply makes his own narrative, and thus his true. This elevator scene is interesting because this is our first interaction between the two, in which we see them share a mutual attraction for the Smiths. He says this shared interest as a moment of faith. Now, this is very interesting because it's something I often find myself guilty of. We often look at shared interest as something deeper than their coincidence. I will use myself as an example. I am not a big anime person, but one of the most profound pieces of media I have seen is Neon Genesis Evangelion, and that is the original anime, not the movies. The reason I enjoy it is because of the deep emotional theme it explores with the concept of life and death. However, I can meet an individual that also likes the show, but for a completely different reason, such as the fights or the animation. A simple shared like of something or a simple interest is not grounds to build this narrative in our heads that is something faith. You can like different things for different meanings. It doesn't mean that the emotional connection is there, for which we see Tom relate to when he's talking about the Smiths with her, kind of adding a little bit more importance to simple circumstances or even coincidence. We get a better look of his complacency in life when the topic of his architecture is brought up. He demonstrates that he has given up on his dream and it's okay with mediocrity and an expectation that he needs someone or something in his life to happen to reach his fulfillment instead of taking control of his own happiness. In a small way, here we are shown Tom as the archetype type of a nice guy. I'm sure a lot of people have found themselves, especially hopeless romantics, have found themselves as the nice guys. Oh, we're nice, but we never win. Oh, we're nice, but nothing ever works out for you. Oh, all these girls like bad boys. The nice guy. It's not very nice at all. And sadly, it takes a little bit of life experience to realize that. But our Tom character is kind of being portrayed as a nice guy. And that's the first feeling and interactions that we get for our main lead here, Tom. As the movie goes on, we see that his sister is the voice of reason. He doesn't always listen to. She tells him that the shared interest doesn't mean that much. It's her soulmate, but she's constantly a voice of reason in the story. And she's very often ignored by Tom. Now we are found at a very pivotal point of the movie, which is the karaoke sing. The karaoke sing is a pivotal point in our story because here we are shown the conflicting idealisms of our two main leads. Tom describes love as a mystical, romanticized thing that he has always been promised by society. Meanwhile, Summer is shown to us as a cynic in the matters of the heart. Tom profusely refuses this ideology, simply disregards her feelings due to them simply not meeting the right one. So in other words, you feel that love is not a real thing because you just haven't met the right person. Completely disregards her feelings for his own narrative, a thing that we're constantly going to see throughout the movie. At this moment, we see the illusions of Tom. He saw very clearly what Summer seeks. However, he's so consumed by the perception of her that he simply rejects the possibility that she somehow doesn't fit the mold that he has perceived of her. We are then encouraged with perhaps one of the most famous scenes in the movie, the IKEA scene. There we see Tom and Summer recreate a merry, happy couple's life while in your average IKEA. I have found myself recreating this scene a few times to my love interest, so this scene is something that I can truly relate to. It was not until later in life until I understood the metaphor of this encounter. Although filled with levity, it took me a few times to understand that the metaphor that IKEA is a false store with nothing more than a facade. You are creating the facade of love and the facade of a story for the sake of your fantasy. Either that or through many rewatches, I'm just putting way more importance into random events than Mark Webb ever intended to. As the relationship is progressing, we are more times told by Summer that she's not looking for anything serious. And again, we find Tom disregarding her. Ultimately, he's so focused on finding the one to complete him that he truly doesn't know what casual means. To him, it's a star or a stepping stone, another illusion to fit his own agenda and feelings. We can sort of see the disconnect with the dance number after they have sex. To us, hopeless romantic sex can be very difficult to interpret. To quote another great movie, there are 8 types of sex. And those 8 types are love fuck, hate fuck, sex only fuck, breakup fuck, makeup fuck, drunk fuck, buddy fuck, pity fuck. Although we don't see Summer's reactions after the sex, we are to infer that it didn't mean much to her since she has already made it clear that it is something casual to her. Meanwhile, we are shown Tom living in a world of ecstasy. To him, this was the moment of greatest significance that he could have. This was truly something special for him. So from the beginning, we can start seeing a disconnect between our two characters. As we are shown the relationship progress, we see Summer take an interest in the things that matter to Tom. She pushes and motivates him to follow his passion for architecture. Yet, we never see Tom ever show any interest in who Summer is or what she likes outside of the views that doesn't directly reflect on them. When Summer does express her feelings or emotions, Tom shuts her down, such as her comments on the Beatles and Ringo Starr, to be specific. So to all my Ringo Starr lovers, shout out in the comments. I'm not one. I'm sorry. I'm not. Anyways, when we are seeing moments that could be of importance of Summer, the narrator comes in and tells us how important and crucial these events are and how special and unique he is for being allowed to look inside the mind and the life of Summer. But the crucial thing we need to notice is the fact that the narrator sort of facts as a part of Tom, right? So the narrator, it's not out of the realm of possibility to think of the narrator as the subconscious of Tom. And with this, we see the narrator coming in and interrupting what she has to say. In other words, Tom is losing his focus. He is more enthralled by the reality and the moment of, oh my God, I am being told this, rather than giving her the time of day that she needs and giving her the attention for the moments that she is choosing to share with him. Now we find ourselves in another crux, in another very important scene, and that is the bar scene, in which Tom's finds himself in an altercation. Now, this scene is a little difficult for me, right? Simply because I ultimately don't see like Summer's point of view, and I'm kind of see Tom's, but I understand where she's coming from. To summarize the scene, Summer is being hit on by a finance bro, for lack of a better term, and she shuts him down. She does her part, and this dude proceeds to be very pragmatic, like very in your face about it. And Tom finds this kind of disrespectful, and he finds like the natural thing to do is to hit him. Now we see them fighting, and she's not happy with how he reacted. And the way that I could see it is maybe she's not happy that he didn't respect her wishes or how she handled the thing, and finds a disrespect in that regard. So for that perspective, I could definitely see Summer's point of view. However, Tom is so obtuse in the way that he views things, and so matter of fact, this is like my world and you are living in my world, that he completely rejects her mentality. And this is when we truly see the first fight between Tom and Summer. He's upset that she doesn't define the relationship and instead takes him to express his feelings while enraged by how everything has transpired. Now, here's the interesting thing. Earlier, he had a chance to express how he was feeling and how he was not happy with the relationship. She asked him what's wrong, and he never once spoke up. He waited for this moment of turmoil, for this fighting moment to bring up everything that's been bothering him. And that's very toxic on his regard. For lack of a better term, he bottled up his true emotions until the very end. And now we see Tom in this altercation with Summer because he has not truly expressed how he feels about her or how he feels about the relationship. Now, in defense of Tom, they are somewhat serious, or relatively seem somewhat serious and exclusive, but Summer is still acting as this is a casual relationship, even though they're a little bit more connected than just casuality. So in Tom's defense, Summer should have also expressed the terms of the relationship, but Tom should have asked for that. So you can't fault Summer a match here. After this, Summer comes to Tom's apartment and says that Tom is right and validates that he's been feeling. However, this is not very sincere for her because she's not coming from a place of guilt, not properly communicating what he wants, and coming from a place acting on Tom's anger and his agreeing to be in a relationship. And it is simply because we can start seeing the beginning of how Summer is truly not happy in the relationship they are now. She is reacting to his actions and his emotions instead of truly thinking about herself. And ultimately, in my opinion, I think this is the crux of where the relationship ends up breaking apart, when Summer realizes that she's sort of been going on autopilot to fill the needs of Tom, but Tom never caring about the needs of Summer. I think the peak of her dissatisfaction occurs when they're watching the movie. She sees the character in the movie is stuck in the relationship because she accepted the harsh and the quietness of what comes after those big moments. Freddie Mercury once said this, but it's very difficult to deal with the in-between moments. And once Summer realizes that Tom is not the person that could truly make those quiet in-between moments bearable, I think that's when the truly relationship ended for her. And on Tom's part, he never made her feel comfortable with those moments, and he never made her the priority. And it was always about him and his view of her. So that's kind of what led to the breakup of the relationship. And to kind of tie it all back down in the concept of the letter to hopeless romantics, as hopeless romantics often find us romanticizing everything, Tom was so lost in his idea of what Summer should be that he truly missed what made Summer Summer, and not just a character that was made for his own made up delusions of love. It is very easy to lose the true meaning of the movie. I know I did when I was young. And a fool, but Mark Webb gives us clues to tell us what the movie is truly about. We see these black and white interviews when they give their opinion of a woman of their dreams. And here we see Tom's friend describe how the girl of his dreams would be. But then he said something that it really took me a few years to understand. He said, Robin was better than the girl of his dreams because she was real. And that's very, very powerful stuff, because that's what makes life so beautiful. You don't know what life is. You don't know what's coming next. And if you're often putting these images of what you should have or what should happen, then you're going to miss the true beauty of the unexpected. Steve Jobs himself said, the customer doesn't know what they want until you give it to them. The world is full of surprises. And when you have an image of a woman, of the perfect woman, sometimes you might miss the chance of beautiful, incredible moments because you were so transfixed on your own self-perception of perfection. We have finally arrived at perhaps the most known and painful scenes of the movie. By the chances of life, Tom finds Summer and they go to a wedding together, and a few things kind of happen where it seems a little bit like they're rekindling their love. Unless to him, that's what it seems like. Long story short, Summer invites her to a dinner party. Then we have this this song that truly plucks at your heartstrings, and we have a thing that I know a lot of hopeless romantics do, including myself. Things that I've definitely done in the past, where you go into a circumstance, an event, anything with certain expectations. You have your mind made of how things are or how things should be, and you build that up so high. And then the reality is that sometimes we are not the main character. Sometimes the world doesn't revolve around us. And Mark Webb does some incredible cinematography here, in which he splits the movie in two, in which we're seeing both the reality and the expectations. And little by little, we see Tom finding out that Summer is engaged to somebody else. And that's what breaks him. When I was younger, I thought about this and realized, how could she do that to him? What is wrong with her? What is her, like, I blame her. It's her fault. She is this, she is that, blah, blah, blah. But in reality, she never told her, hey, let's get back together. I'm single. I'm inviting you for this so we can rekindle things. She never said that. She never gave him any reason for him to expect that or have that mentality in mind. But yet that's how he went into the interaction. So at the end of the day, as painful as it is, and as long as it took me to realize that there's nobody here to blame for his heartbreak, his downfall, for this terrible experience of you letting yourself get broken down, but himself. But that still doesn't make the interaction any easier, of seeing the woman that you fell in love with find the happiness with somebody else that she couldn't find with you. After some incredible heartbreaking cinematography, when we see Tom walk away with his broken heart and the world solidify behind them, we'll be back with him at his downfall, at probably his lowest that in his life he's probably found himself in, where he finally through all the darkness and everything that's happening, he's able to shatter this wall of illusions, and he sees the relationship for truly was. The first aspect that we see of this is when he's at a meeting at his work, and he kind of just breaks it, man. He has a crash out that has been coming for a while, and he becomes aware of the world that he works in and he's been living in. He goes off and says, we are creating this world of lies, essentially. He disregards everything at his company of making fake memories and fake feelings, and little by little he starts seeing how the concept of love that he believed in is a lie, how at this moment love is not real and it's nothing more that he's being sold, and by proxy he's been selling this lie, and he's kind of starts realizing of what the reality truly is. In true cinematic fashion, we find ourselves at the same bench in which the movie started, with Summer by his side. And the conversation is key for Tom. He can finally have that closure. He can finally understand like what happened or what went down, and kind of be able to move on. Even though he started working on himself, he started to do the things that he loved. He started getting back into architecture. He started to rebuild Tom through the ashes of what the relationship left. And that's the key thing, right? You could go two negatives about this. You can go in a destructive path and just be really negative with yourself and blame the world, or you can take an inner look at yourself and realize that the only thing you really can change is you. I don't think he truly has like a wake up moment where he realizes everything I made up was a lie. But as we see the movie progress and go on, he starts having these views of the relationship of how they truly were. He starts seeing that not everything was perfect, not everything was glory and dreams and this beauty that he constantly viewed, but it was a little more complex than that. And now he's sitting next to Summer, and he asked her, someone that didn't believe in love, how could you be someone's fiance? And to kind of paraphrase what she said is, because I was sure with him what I could never be sure with you. And those words hurt, but maybe it gives a introspective that Tom needs at the moment to realize that the relationship that he thought he had, the relationship that he thought he built, wasn't the one that was truly there. And maybe now that he's able to grow and see past the illusions, see the bullshit that he was working on at his job, and see the fabricated concept of love that he had in his mind, maybe he can move forward from this. And now we find ourselves at the very end of the movie, where he has an architectural job, where he's moved on. He has an interview for this architect job, and there he meets Autumn, and they actually have a legitimate bonding connection, right? Not more than, oh, you like this music, I like this music. They actually share a connection of the beauty through love of architecture, something a little bit more deeper than the superficiality that he first met with Summer. And he asks her out. He's not vague. He doesn't wait for her to do the turn. He doesn't approach this relationship like he did with Summer. And that's truly beautiful from the character that we originally saw when the movie started. So in his own way, maybe he grew, and hopefully it gives us a little bit of hope, right? It doesn't say that love is doom. It doesn't say that being a hopeless romantic is not the way to go. It doesn't give you that negative outlook. Rather, it gives you a positive view of, if you have a proper view of reality and you approach reality in that aspect, things might work out well for you. And so that is my ultimate message to you hopeless romantics out there. Just take reality as it comes and take life as what it is. Stop worrying so much about things and actually get to know someone. And just because you do something for someone, or just because something happens for someone, it doesn't mean that you're owed or deserve anything in return. That is something that it took me a little while to understand. And we view ourselves with this high match of like, oh, I'm this guy, I'm that. But in reality, there is no mold. There is no right answer. Every person is special in their own way. And maybe if you take a step back, you don't have to go through the heartbreak that Tom had to go through. And let's not lie to ourselves. And this is something that I didn't knew or understand the first viewing, but Tom is not the good guy in the story, and Summer's not the villain. And once we realize that, you can truly understand everything that they went through and the pain that they went through. Anyways, guys, this was kind of a rough review for me. It was a little rough to write. I hope you guys enjoy. Moving forward, we're going to be covering a lot more movies here as well. I'm a huge movie person. I have a huge passion for movies. Maybe one day I'll tell you guys where it comes from, because there's a story behind it, and that'll be great. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. We're going to be doing a lot more of these. So make sure you guys are comment, liking, and following the movie. Actually, big thing that I ask you, I am curious. When you first saw this movie, both men and women, anybody that watches this, tell me, did you think of Tom as bad or good is like a subjective thing, but did you think that Summer was in the wrong, or she was the villain or the bad person in the story? I'm curious what you guys think. I know I did think that when I first watched it. So let me know your response in the comments. And if there's any movies that you guys want to see me cover, or is there anything specific you want me to do, then just let me know and I'll be happy to do it for you guys. And with that being said, this is Bri, aka Gio, signing out. Hope you guys enjoy. Have a good night.